Will EverQuest's most popular server, TheHeroesJourney, aka THJ, will THJ be shut down because of a lawsuit recently filed by Daybreak Games? This could have significant consequences for years to come of EverQuest. It's very important you understand. I'm going to leave timestamps so you can skip around to the good parts. First, I'll catch anyone up who doesn't know what's going on, the context. Then I'll get into the commentary. Part 1, the context. There's two main flavors to EverQuest that you need to know about if you're not familiar. Flavor 1, the official version of the game. The IP, the trademarks, and copyrights are all held by a company called Daybreak Games. They run the official servers where you often pay a subscription to play. Then Flavor 2, unofficial versions, copycats, if you will. Unofficially run servers that emulate the game, generally free to play. So why do unofficial servers even exist? The reason is twofold. A portion of the EQ community feels like modern Daybreak EQ is, excuse my language, modern EverQuest is a bastardization of what 1999, 2000 era EverQuest was like. Decades of patches and new expansions have veered far away from the game's original design and the player experience of early EQ. Early EQ was the height of the game's popularity in subscriptions, 2000, 2001. So when many old players come back, or they think of coming back to EverQuest, that's the EverQuest that they're expecting, not this modern version of the game that feels very foreign. So some emulator servers like Project 1999 and Project Quorum, they fill that gap. Unofficial servers offering classic emulation of EQ. So that's one segment of the community. They want classic-ish versions of EQ that are not offered at all by official servers of Daybreak Games. Another segment of the community doesn't necessarily want a classic version of EQ, but they want some innovation. This segment of the community feels that the new expansions and new servers that Daybreak has added to EverQuest over the years are just lackluster. The product that Daybreak has been putting out feels stale and stagnant, with no change in sight. What has Daybreak done to push the franchise forward? This segment of the community, their answer is not much. No, they haven't done anything. It feels like the game is one step removed from being on full maintenance mode. They don't listen to the community very well. Any great ideas Daybreak does implement, they take ages to release, or they're so poorly implemented that they're very buggy. Daybreak's management of EQ has caused many players to burn out or simply give up due to apathy and frustration. So that's where the unofficial Heroes Journey server comes in. It's a huge innovation on the EverQuest formula. EverQuest's greatest feature and EverQuest's greatest design flaw is that it was built around playing with others. It's amazing when you can play with others, but many times, not most of the time, playing with others is not possible. So the best way to play the game, you can't do it a lot of the time. You got to play alone. And the game is terrible to play alone. It falls flat compared to any modern MMO designed around accessibility. At the core, it's why EverQuest lost when World of Warcraft released in 2004. WoW was solo-friendly in ways EverQuest never was. It was marketed as that. WoW was more accessible than EQ. So THJ, Heroes Journey, comes along. It comes into the picture about a year or two ago as one of the first real servers to make a single-player version of EverQuest. You can log on and immediately do whatever you want without help. And it adds features that really shake the gameplay formula up. So THJ is the most accessible version of EQ that's ever existed to my knowledge. So much so that most of your EQ social media types, like me, will recommend THJ over official Daybreak EQ for new players. And I believe that's caused a fight. Part 2, the lawsuit. On June 20th, 2025, we got news that Daybreak had filed a lawsuit against the operators of the EverQuest server. The EverQuest server is being accused of operating illegally by using Daybreak's intellectual property without permission and causing harm to Daybreak's business. Daybreak is allegedly seeking to shut down the THJ server. And this was all meant to be privately handled behind the scenes. We weren't supposed to know about this. But the good news for us players is that the judge presiding over the case denied Daybreak's request to keep this private. Some of their financials and company documents, I think they're going to keep those sealed. But the case as a whole, the fact that it exists, no. This is why we even know this is happening. And I really do appreciate the transparency. Thank you to that judge. Oftentimes, we as the player base are completely left in the dark. And this lawsuit has huge significance for EverQuest's future, as I will elaborate on now. Part 3, the commentary. So why do I think Daybreak is trying to shut down THJ? What did THJ do wrong? Much of what I'm about to say is speculation. A lot of it's just opinion, and I'm not a lawyer, so take it all with a grain of salt. My opinion, first of all, THJ is using Daybreak's intellectual property without permission. That is illegal, bar none. You can't just take an iPhone and slap your label on it. Apple Corporation will not tolerate that. And likewise with THJ taking Daybreak's game and making their own product with it. No. Now, Daybreak has been fairly loose about allowing unofficial emulator servers to exist, even going so far that Daybreak gave official approval for an emulator server to exist. We're talking about Project 1999. So why all of a sudden is Daybreak changing policy on this? Why is Daybreak trying to shut down an emulator server after years of it being okay? I think there's 3 main reasons. 1, suspected illegal profit. THJ allows you to donate money for the listed purpose of paying for the server's upkeep cost. It costs some money to host a bunch of servers where players are on playing online. In of itself, taking donations to pay for those costs, it's very understandable, but shaky. These donations, it's not a problem with Project 1999. They also take donations for their server upkeep. No issues there, but there's no reward for it there. In THJ's case, there is a reward for donations. In exchange for money, they give you a currency called EOM, Echoes of Memory, that you can use to buy things in the game, which generally speaking is a big no-no. This incentivizes people to spend money on THJ's illegal version of EverQuest instead of Daybreak's official version of EverQuest. I don't think they like that. Now, this is purely speculation on my part. I am very likely going to be wrong about this. It's probably not true. I think there is a possibility that Daybreak suspects that the THJ devs aren't just taking these donations to pay for running the server. THJ devs could be pocketing some of the donations into their personal bank accounts. That would be extremely illegal. But again, I am just speculating here. I am spitballing, and I am probably very wrong about that. But if that were the case, uh-oh. So that's reason number 1. Reason number 2, why Daybreak might have brought this lawsuit. Population numbers. Over the past year or two, THJ has grown in popularity and in active player base, like 4,000 to 5,000 players online at times. And Daybreak just released a new server called Fangbreaker in May 2025 that possibly has a population of 1,000 to 2,000 players and hemorrhaging and dropping. We don't know how many players are actually on it, but it's definitely not doing as well as THJ. The fact that an illegal server is pulling more players than the company's official servers the company needs you to play on for them to make money as a business, obviously that's a source of conflict too. They don't like it when more people are playing on THJ than their own servers. I attribute this not to malice, but something simpler. I don't think THJ stole players away as much as this. I think if Daybreak's Fangbreaker or any of their recent servers, I think if what Daybreak was doing was offering a better product than THJ, more people would be playing Daybreak's EverQuest than THJ EverQuest. But they're not. I don't think Daybreak Corporate realizes that their product is objectively worse than what THJ is offering. And this is coming from a fan who's played both versions for a very long time. I love the EverQuest franchise. I view this as a symptom of Daybreak's years of lacking innovation. They got one-upped by 2 random devs with an idea, and Daybreak is not happy about it, obviously. And last reason, number 3, Daybreak might want to shut THJ down. Influencers like me and others, when I get questions from people interested in trying out EverQuest, when I get comments like that, I immediately tell them to go play THJ, not official EverQuest. And many other influencers do the same. If you watched Josh Strife Hayes' review of EverQuest, a huge 1,000,000 view review, the official Daybreak version is terrible for new players. He had a horrible time. THJ is the only version of EverQuest, I feel, that won't make a new player immediately quit. And that's why I recommend it over official servers. THJ has actually ruined official EQ for me. I don't even want to play official EQ because it's so inaccessible by comparison. It's so hard to pick up and play. I just don't even want to. And when all of us influencers keep pushing people to try THJ over official EQ, again, Daybreak is obviously going to have a problem with that. It is hurting their profits. So let's ask a new question. What is going to happen with this lawsuit? This is what I suspect. I don't see how Daybreak doesn't win this lawsuit. And I don't see how Daybreak doesn't go to shut down THJ. THJ appears to be using EQ's IP illegally and then hurting Daybreak's profits in the process. This lawsuit was inevitable. But just because I think Daybreak is going to win, I don't think they realize the severe consequences of winning. This is a public relations nightmare for Daybreak. If Daybreak wins and shuts down THJ, it will backfire tremendously. If Daybreak shuts down the most popular server of their game, they are going to burn bridges. Influencers like myself are going to disavow Daybreak's EverQuest to our large online audiences, and that will damage their ability to recruit new players. Us influencers bring awareness to the game that didn't exist without our streams and videos. But screw us influencers, even more importantly, the thousands of EQ players currently on THJ, they're never going to buy a Daybreak subscription again after you screw them over and take away their favorite game. This is punching thousands of players in the face. This will be an expensive victory for Daybreak, a Pyrrhic victory. They will win, but they will lose so much PR and piss off so many players that this will damage their profits, if not irreparably harm their reputation. Which is exactly why I am making this video, because nobody is saying this. If there was ever a time for Daybreak to listen to me, it is now. You are going to win this lawsuit, but you need to compromise with THJ. There is a win-win scenario here that is not being seen. This could be a PR heaven for Daybreak and extremely profitable if it is handled correctly. Instead of shutting down THJ, Daybreak needs to incorporate THJ. THJ will be allowed to operate so long as they become part of Daybreak Games. THJ becomes an official server you play on as long as you have a Daybreak subscription. That is the win-win. The thousands of players and several influencers who want to play on THJ still can, because it's still up, and the subscriptions for playing on THJ now go to the legal rights holder. Win-win. If I were Daybreak, I would phrase the press release something like this. This is a great day for EverQuest. We have reached an agreement with the TheHeroesJourney server. The server will live on forever with our official approval and guidance. And with that, THJ will have access to our resources to make the server an even better place to play EverQuest on. We hear your call for the need for a single-player version of EverQuest, a version of EverQuest that will remain accessible for players not just now, not just for our 25th anniversary, but our 100th anniversary in 2099. THJ is an officially approved EverQuest server under Daybreak Games. Say something like that, you know? That's great PR. And Daybreak can profit by charging a subscription to play on it, and you can even use it to sell expansions. I and many other players would love to try out modern EQ expansions like Lorien's Song and Outer Brood if it was playable on our THJ characters. You can upsell the 20 plus expansions you've already made as they are retrofitted to THJ one by one. It's another thing you can sell for profit. So the potential for profit is enormous. You know, what MMOs have a multi-class system like EverQuest will? It's a huge marketing opportunity. There are no MMOs like this. It's defining for the game. Take advantage of it. And on THJ's end, this allows their devs access to the EverQuest code so they can implement many quality of life improvements like the advanced loot window, the mouse look, or even a cross-up like Mischief's random loot rule set combined with THJ. That would be kind of interesting. And from a corporate perspective for Daybreak, this seems like a no-brainer. THJ devs have done all the work and taken all the risk to create a viable product that Daybreak could just repackage themselves and reap a massive profit on. The heavy lifting has already been done. It worked. People want to buy your product, so sell it. Take the free money. It's good business. But I would caution Daybreak that part of the reason THJ is so successful is because they aren't mired in corporate red tape. THJ has been able to innovate faster because of their lesser oversight. They can just do whatever they want. I would recommend Daybreak to allow THJ devs a greater degree of autonomy so it doesn't stifle their product development. That's why THJ exists in the first place. Corporate red tape was so bad at Daybreak, it stifled innovation for so long that someone got fed up and chose to do it themselves illegally. That's why THJ exists. So that's it. That's all about that. My limitations, look, I'm not a lawyer. I'm probably wrong about most of the things I said in this video. I don't know about the conversations being had behind closed doors. It's a possibility that this idea I have of THJ being incorporated into Daybreak, maybe it's been offered, but someone's denying it. Or maybe Daybreak's only mission is to shut down THJ, no compromise. We don't know what's going on at this point. We just know that there is a lawsuit. But I made this video for one explicit reason. This compromise needs to be said. Nobody's talking about it. We need a win-win situation, a world where THJ still exists for people to play on, and Daybreak gets its rightful profits, of course. So that's all for the video. Thank you for watching.